Let's go ahead and add a particle to our magic orb. So to create the particle, we'll just go to our hierarchy and click on create. Inside of this, at the very bottom, you'll see a particle system. Go ahead and click on it. This is going to be Unity's default particle. Notice it's going to be a random set of particles spraying upward. Let's go ahead and move this particle system into the magic orb. So in the hierarchy, left click and drag particle system on top of magic orb, so it becomes parented. Once you have that, go to the position and just type in 0, 0, 0. Alright. Now we just want to set up some basic properties. We're not going to go into this a whole lot, but we're going to just create a little bit of a green line that goes behind it as it goes. So with the particle system selected, inside of it, just go into the first part, and we're just going to change a couple of the variables up here. So the start lifetime, let's go ahead and just change that. We're going to change it to about 0.3, 0.4. We just want it to be a very short distance up. The start speed for it, let's go ahead and take this down to 1. We don't want it to go too fast, but we'll actually change it over the force over lifetime probably, or the size. The start size itself, let's take this a little bit smaller. Let's go down to about a 0.23, a 0.25. There we go. So something small like that. Alright, the start color, let's try to match closer to this color. Let's go for something that looks like that same one. So again, when your color comes up, you can click on the little eyedropper. Unity's got one of the best eyedroppers, is that it's just nice and pixel and it shows you where you're going. Just click on one of the colors from there. Alright, on the rest of the options there, don't worry. The next one that we want to change is going to be the simulation space. Local means it's going to stick with this object. World means that if it moves, it's going to be based on the environment. So if you move it up, it's not going to follow direct. It'll just kind of trail behind. Alright, and then we'll go ahead and stick with the play on awake. And then the next thing we want to look at is the emissions. This can be how many particles do we want to spawn in per second. We're going to say we want 1,000. Alright, so this is a little bit better. You have a little bit, you've got more to play with at this point, which means we can kind of create a straight line with it. Let's go ahead and go down to our shape. Our current shape is a cone. Let's go ahead and change this one to a box. Alright, and with the box size, instead of being 1, let's change it to 0.1. That way it's a little bit more the size of this actual object right here. Alright, and then we're going to go down to color over lifetime. Now in order to use these, be sure that you actually click on the checkbox. And then once you click on the checkbox, just click on, you'll have a drop down option over here. We're just going to say the standard gradient, so left click on the little white color. When it comes up, let's go ahead and just change the color option, and for this one, let's go ahead and just choose a, we'll do like a greenish tone, a greenish yellow. There we go. Alright, so this, we could spend time and explain each one of these, but the idea is very similar. Let's say like for Photoshop, is that you're clicking on the arrow, and which one you select, you're actually changing the color from here. So we're just changing the white to a green. Alright, so once you have that one, let's go down to our speed. Let's see, we'll do size. Let's do size over lifetime. Click on the checkbox. And then size, instead of doing the curve, let's actually just do 2 numbers. And we'll just say that we're going to do our size 1 to about 4. There we go. So it's a little bit bigger, which is good for us. This is kind of fit the actual size of the object. Alright, so now if our object is moving, notice if I just grab our object and start to move it, see how it looks more like a trail as it goes behind? Alright. So this is going to be the particle system. You can go ahead and save this. If you hit play, You see how it kind of goes behind it as it's going? Now, did you notice the ball went away, but the particle system was still there? So now that we have our particle system on it, we can actually go back to our magic orb, and then we'll want to drag the particle system onto the particle. Okay, so we're taking our particle system, putting it onto our particle. Alright, now inside the code, what we're going to do is, with the particle effect, we just want to turn the particle effect off so that it's not going to be shown until the object gets destroyed. So when it comes to the onTriggerEnter, let's go ahead and just place in the basic effect for this. Remember, we have our particle right here for our particle system. So we're going to go in here, we're just going to say particle. Let's make sure we push this over here. So we're going to do a particle, and in order to turn it on and off, you have one called enable emission. So enable emission is now going to equal false. Alright, so now when the trigger enter, when the magic orb runs and hits, we're now going to turn it off, and then we're going to be able to still wait until the audio link plays without showing the other elements. Alright, so also on this though, we want to turn off the movement. We looked at it before, we were talking about changing the speed, where we could take the speed to 0. But the same thing we could do is actually make a just a private bool statement. We'll say private bool can move equals, and we'll say true. So we're going to say that the moment it starts up, it can actually move. So in here, we're just going to do a check. We're going to say if can move is true, which by default, we're stating that at the very start of this that yes, you can move. But what we want to do is say that the moment we can't move, which is going to be on trigger enter, turn it to false. So we'll just go in here and we'll say can move equals false. So the object is going to move, and in the moment that the object goes into the trigger enter state, can move is going to turn false, which means this won't run anymore. Alright, so then that's going to allow us to have the movement stop. It'll allow us to have the particles play. So let's go back into Unity here. Let's check it out, make sure everything's going to work that way. And our particles should be updated now, so when we play, what we should see is it go, it plays the sound, everything turns off, it gets deleted. Alright, so those are your first steps on making the magic orb. All the basic elements are there. We have sound, we have particle, we have an object, we have it checking for other objects in the scene, and then destroying if it hits anything. So let's go ahead and zoom out one last time, make sure you can see all the code here. There we go. So again, remember, we have our class called the magic orb. We had our comments that we were basically making about what variables we wanted. You could remove those once you have them done. We could do it where we're just looking at the code only here. So the basic elements that happen, remember, we're declaring our public variables up here, the ones that we're using. We have a hidden variable, one's private just to this class only. And we have our awake method, which is calling the moment that the script and the object is created, turns on. We're getting that first shot. Then we're doing our constant loop update, moving our object in a forward direction using translate. And then we have it constantly checking for anything that potentially can hit it. If something does hit it, it goes through the elements of saying turn stuff off and play an audio sound.